Good morning, students. I hope you all are doing really well. Today, I'm going to take you through the Indian Constitution, one of the very interesting chapter. And thus, we have started with civics first. So, let us start with chapter 1, which is your Indian Constitution. The Constitution of a country is a legal document by which the country's affairs are managed. That means it is a combination of many factors, such as it could be history, traditions, values, ethos, social political milieu, and so on. So, this document establishes the principles of limited government and promotes democratic rules. When we talk about democratic rules, we talk about the country which is a democratic one, like we are living in. Okay, so there is another question also likes to it. Does the countries like monarchy who are being ruled up by the king, don't they have constitution? They do have constitution, but there's a slight difference in the democratic country where we follow the constitution, because monarchy is one of the country which is ruled by a king, and democratic, like we have our right to choose our own representative. Now, why does a country needs a constitution, or why do we need a constitution? So, the Constitution of India, we already know it was drafted and enacted after a long period of struggle and deliberations, and it is the largest in the world. Though, when we talk about why does a country needs a constitution, we all are familiar with. For any, if I'll give you an example of a game, suppose take an example of football game. Like there are certain laws and rules for it. That is, the goalkeeper can only touch the football from the hand. Otherwise, the rest of the other players, they have to play the football by their foot. That's very obvious. So there are certain rules. If somebody breaks that rule, then it could be a penalty. It could be charged against that particular period of game which they are playing. So similarly, for any of the country, it's really very important and mandatory to have a constitution, because constitution provides a legal document by which the country's affairs are managed. And in these legal documents, all the laws and all the customs, traditions, everything is being formed. And that's why we need a constitution. If there won't be any constitution, then people might be working on their own. They must not be following all the rules and regulation. For if I give you another example, just take an example of a traffic rules, right? We follow traffic rules because it is being made to us, and that's why we follow them. And if there won't be any traffic rules, then what would happen? Everybody would move here and there. There will be a large jam on the roads, and people will be stuck. Similarly, for any of the country to have a smooth functioning of their uh, democracy, so it really requires a constitution. Otherwise, what would happen? They might face difficulty in future. Then that's why we have certain elected representative which is being chosen by us. Now I'll take you through that how does the Indian Constitution frame, and how does it guarantees right and equality. In 1934, the Indian National Congress demanded a constituent assembly. Before the constitution was formed, there was a constitution assembly which was framed in 1934 by Indian National Congress, and this got convened in December 1946 because of the Second World War, which was assertion for an independent constitution assembly, and later on it gained momentum and formed in December 1946. So between 1946, December 1946 and 1949, the Constituent Assembly drafted a constitution for independent India. Now, we already know the Indian Constitution guarantees the right to equality to all persons, and no one can be discriminated. Like I shared, there are certain rules which are being maintained and written in the Indian Constitution, which everybody needs to follow up. So for making these this particular rules, there were various sources. Like I shared that it is one of the largest constitution in the world. So there were various sources of Indian Constitution, like from where the sources have come from. If we talk about federal structure, offices of governors, power, divisions, judiciary, public service commission, this was enacted in the Government of Indian Act 1935. But when we talk about parliamentary system, rule of law, single citizenship, legislation, this is there in Britain. Then when we talk about fundamental rights, judicial reviews, these are some of the sources which is there for USA. So you can just see that the different sources, different elements has been taken to frame such a largest constitution. And with this constitution there comes a preamble, like it is given in your civics books as well. If you just open your book, you'll find the first or the second most page, which is where the preamble is already given. So what does preamble means? Preamble means introduction or preface of the constitution or essence of the constitution. Like there's an essence of everything, that something is given in it. So like preamble serves an essence. What does it do? Preamble, it indicates the source from which the constitution derives its authority. Secondly, the objects which the constitution seeks to establish, that has also been promoted in the preamble. So the people of India resolved to constitute India into a sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic. We are familiar with these words which are given in the preamble. I hope you must have heard earlier as well. So the Constitution of India is sovereign and independent, unlike the President Government of Indian Act 1935, which was after which there were certain changes. In a discussion of constitution, it is important that it contains some historical facts, so people became aware and try to know how and what struggle they have faced, how did they all came through it. Now, so first of all, I'll start with constitution having several purposes. Like I have given you many examples that why do we have constitution, why does a country needs a constitution. There were certain sources from which constitution has been taken. Apart from that, how does the constituent assembly came into force, and then finally the constitution was framed, and the person who was behind it was Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. Next, I'll take you through the several purposes on which the constitution is framed.